Okay, so this is preliminary information. It could change as the detectives get further into the investigation. But what we have right now is officers responded for a family disturbance call. Two officers arrived about the same time. They found that the individual who came with the suspect, who came here to retrieve his children, at some point they became involved in an altercation with I don't know if it was, I guess it was his wife, and started to douse the house with gasoline, threatening to set it on fire. So when the officers arrived, we're down at the cul-de-sac here. When the officers arrived, the one officer who's standing in the middle of the cul-de-sac radioed to dispatch to let them know what was happening. And as soon as he did that, he took a round. He was shot. In fact, he was shot multiple times, and he went down in the cul-de-sac. The second officer he was with was also shot. The suspect went upstairs to the second floor and was firing out the window with a long gun. So the second officer was able to make it back to his vehicle to pull out his long gun, and he took a position behind a vehicle next door, still under fire. So he at some point decided he needed to move back, and he distanced himself a little bit, at the same time returning rounds. Officers arrived on the scene, and they went into a very, very hot zone, and they were able to extract the officer who was down in the cul-de-sac, and they were able to extract the other officer who was pinned down under another vehicle. So they got them out, and by the time they got them out, the suspect came out and gave himself up and was taken into custody. The two officers, one had 7 years on, one had 2 years on. They are now at a hospital. I understand that both of them are in surgery. Again, the one officer was shot 3 times. The second officer was shot 1 time. And this all leads me to say that these types of calls are very, very volatile. They're very dangerous because of the emotion involved in many, many cases. And this was one of those cases. And the officers are very, very lucky that they weren't killed. So that's where we are right now.
So I know you say emotions obviously heighten these types of situations. Any known criminal history of the man or the suspect?
We could not find any in Bexar County as of this time.
Chief, we heard more than 60 rounds were fired. Is that about accurate?
I have not been inside to see the number of shell casings that were up there, but I know there were multiple rounds fired.
And he was trying to set fire to the house. How did y'all respond to that once he gave himself up to make sure the house is going to be okay?
The fire department was here, and they took care of that on their end. But we were very fortunate tonight that we didn't have the 2 initial officers killed, and we didn't have the officers who went in to extract them injured. We're very, very fortunate tonight.
So why is the scene so big? I mean, we were over there, the neighborhood was blocked off, so many roads blocked off to get here.
Because of the number of vehicles that we had to pull in here, and we didn't know exactly what we had at first, so they make a very wide perimeter.
Chief, we did some research. We found that this is the 21st, I believe, officer shooting involving officers this year. Can we get your thoughts on just how this keeps happening?
You know, it's officers don't know what they're going to encounter when they're out here, and the officers' actions are predicated on the actions of the person that they're dealing with. And in this case right here, this suspect was not shot, but very well could have been. But he was well protected from his position.
Are the wife and kids okay?
Pardon?
Are the wife and kids okay?
As far as I know, no one else is injured.
Critical condition involved?
Pardon?
The police officers are in critical condition right now?
What?
The officer condition
I don't know. I know last I heard that they were in surgery.
Chief, I know I'm late. Would you ever send me to the other extreme? That's why I'm so late. I'm sorry.
Sure. So let me go over it again. So officers responded for a domestic disturbance call. When they arrived on the scene, 2 officers arrived about the same time and discovered that the suspect was dousing the house with gasoline and threatened to set it on fire. As he reported that to dispatch, the suspect barricaded himself in the house, went up to the second floor, and started shooting out the window with a long gun. The first officer who was standing in the cul-de-sac was hit 3 times, I'm told. He went down in the cul-de-sac. The second officer was hit as well. He was able to make his way to his car to get his long gun. He made his way back, took cover behind a vehicle next door, and returned fire. Both officers were pinned down. The officer who was returning fire was able to, or found that he needed to move back further to give himself some more distance because he was still being fired upon. And shortly after that, officers rode down in their patrol vehicle to rescue both officers. They extracted both officers, and as they were doing that, the suspect came out and gave himself up. So both officers seriously injured. The officers who were involved in the extraction went into a very, very hot zone to do that. We're fortunate that they were able to get them out without being injured themselves, and we have one in custody.
Was this out of some sort of domestic violence
So
situation?
they call for domestic disturbance.
And obviously, these are some of the most dangerous now, or ever, calls that a police officer can answer.
I mentioned that these are some of the most volatile calls that officers can go on because of the emotions that are involved, and this was one of those calls.
What kind of charges is the suspect facing?
Attempt capital murder, and whatever other charges that the detectives will might level.
One more question.
Your officers who were shot, where were they shot, Chief?
The one officer was shot in the lower extremities twice, once in the upper extremity. The other officer was shot in the upper extremity.
Thank you all very much.
Okay,
Thank you, Chief.